Have you ever wondered why we don't have tails? I mean, look at most other mammals, monkeys, cats, dogs, even mice. They all sport a tail. So, what happened to ours? Why did our ancient ancestors decide to ditch this seemingly useful appendage? Let's travel back in time, about 25 million years ago, to unravel this evolutionary mystery. Our story begins with our distant relatives, the early apes. At that time, the world was changing. The climate was cooling, and the dense, continuous forests where our ancestors lived were starting to break apart, becoming more fragmented. This environmental shift set the stage for a major evolutionary leap. Before this, most primates were happily scampering through the trees, using their long tails for balance, almost like a fifth limb. Think of monkeys today, effortlessly leaping from branch to branch. Their tails are crucial for stability, acting like a rudder or a counterbalance. But as the forest changed, so did the way our ancestors moved. This is the classic arm-over-arm swinging you see in gibbons and orangutans today. It could get snagged on branches or throw off your momentum. So evolution started to favor apes with shorter, less obtrusive tails. But how exactly did this happen? For a long time, scientists knew *y* losing the tail was beneficial, but the genetic mechanism was a puzzle. Then, a breakthrough discovery was made, and it's a fascinating piece of genetic detective work. A team of scientists found the specific genetic mutation responsible for our tailless state. It's all down to a single gene called TBXT. This gene is found in all vertebrates and plays a crucial role in tail development. What the researchers discovered was a jumping gene, a piece of DNA called an ALU element that had inserted itself right into the middle of the TBXT gene in the ancestor of all apes and humans. Think of a gene as a set of instructions for building a protein. This ALU element insertion acted like a typo in the instruction manual. It caused the cell's machinery to sometimes skip a crucial part of the gene when reading it, leading to a shorter dysfunctional protein. This disruption in the TBXT gene's function resulted in a severely shortened tail, or in our case, no tail at all. To test this theory, the scientists conducted an experiment with mice. They engineered mice to have this exact same ALU insertion in their TBXT gene. And guess what? The mice were born with a variety of tail lengths, from short stumps to no tails at all, just like the variation we see in apes. This was the smoking gun, the genetic evidence that explained a 25-million-year-old mystery. So, a random genetic mutation, a tiny piece of jumping DNA landed in just the right spot. This wasn't a gradual shrinking over millions of years. It was likely a rather sudden event. An ape was born without a tail, and because of the changing environment and new ways of moving, this trait turned out to be an advantage. Losing the tail wasn't just about getting rid of something useless. It had profound consequences for our evolution. This change is intricately linked to our upright posture and bipedalism, walking on two legs. The bones at the base of our spine, which would have formed the tail, fused together to create the coccyx or tailbone. This tailbone isn't just a useless remnant. It serves as an anchor point for important muscles, ligaments, and tendons of the pelvic floor. These muscles support our internal organs, especially important when we stand upright, letting gravity pull everything down. So, in a way, losing our tail was a critical pre-adaptation for walking on 2 feet. It forced our bodies to develop a stronger, more stable core and pelvic structure, paving the way for our ancestors to eventually leave the trees and stride out onto the savanna. This move to bipedalism freed up our hands, which allowed us to make tools, carry food, and eventually develop the complex societies we live in today. It's incredible to think about, isn't it? A single, random genetic event 25 million years ago not only explains why you don't have to worry about sitting on a tail, but also set in motion a chain of evolutionary events that ultimately led to us. From a jumping gene to upright walking, It's a perfect example of how small changes can have massive consequences over evolutionary time. However, this genetic trade-off wasn't without its downsides. The very same TBXT gene mutation that took our tails is also linked to a slightly increased risk of neural tube defects, like spina bifida, where the spinal cord doesn't form properly during development. This shows that evolution is not a perfect process. It's a series of trade-offs. The advantage of being tailless and eventually bipedal outweighed the slight risk associated with this mutation. So, the next time you see a picture of our ape relatives or even just look in the mirror, you can appreciate the long and complex journey our bodies have been on. We are the descendants of a tailless pioneer, an ancient ape whose genetic quirk changed the course of our lineage forever. That little piece of bone at the base of your spine, the coccyx, is a direct, physical link to this pivotal moment in our evolutionary history, a reminder of the tail we lost and the world we gained. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into our evolutionary past. It's amazing how a simple question can lead to such a complex and fascinating story. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the wonders of science. See you next time.